And then another thing is that the human eye is built to identify movement.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are shaking a little bit when you're holding just optical binoculars, you can't necessarily see a small movement that's within your field of view.
Yeah, everything's moving.
Right, everything's moving.
Yeah.
So if, when I have these stabilized binoculars, I mean, it's just steady. And if a deer flicks its ear, I can pick that up.
Yeah.
And every mule deer hunter, knows how important that movement is.
Yeah.
To finding that animal.
Yeah, the first time.
These are stories of outdoor adventure and expert advice from folks with calloused hands. I'm James Nash, and this is the Six Ranch Podcast. What is the right thing to do when you are hunting for, say, a deer or an elk, and you see a coyote?
That depends.
On what?
Are you seeing deer or elk?
Right now, all you see is a coyote.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's definitely fair game for me.
You got to shoot at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the move.
That's been the move.
And I think it's good luck.
You think it's good luck to kill the coyote?
Yes.
Okay. You want to go in on that?
Well, first of all, it gets your mind right. And there's been times when I've been elk hunting, seen a coyote, and like, man, maybe I shouldn't shoot right now. It's like, wait, this is a policy. Go ahead, shoot the coyote, and then some elk run out, and you're like, hey, there's elk. Then I killed an elk. It's a move.
Yep.
I encourage people to try it. Feel free to let me know if that's ever worked out for you folks. But definitely, I think you should shoot the coyote.
Yeah. I've definitely passed on coyotes.
Have you?
Yeah, like first light. You're out there.
No.
Yeah, I've passed on them.
No. That doesn't surprise me that much about you.
No. They call me Joe the Merciful.
So Joe, Fruechtel, and myself, and a few other folks are out here with Jordan Budd in northwest Nebraska. We've been hunting deer this week. Been going well, I'd say.
Yeah, real well.
Had an awesome time. Shot $3.
Yep. $3. You got a doe?
Got a doe. Got a couple coyotes.
Yep.
All really good bucks.
Yeah.
Like the quality of deer here is unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's a little different for me hunting whitetail. I haven't hunted a lot of whitetail, so it's a fun experience.
This is like open country whitetail hunting. It's legit hunting.
Mm-hmm.
You're on the ground, you're moving around, you're glassing. We're in the rut right now, so these deer are on the move. There's deer showing up that she's never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been really, really fun. And this is the biggest whitetail buck I've ever killed.
Yeah. Yeah, and they got a cool mix of terrain here.
Yeah.
Mix a little egg in there. It's a pretty good recipe for having a lot of deer.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. A little egg?
Egg, like agriculture, like corn plot and stuff up there. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Ag.
Egg.
Ag?
Egg.
Egg. Agriculture.
Egg.
Who are you, Joe?
I'm Joe Fruechtel. I'm the Director of Product Management for Sig Optics. I've been there for about 5.5 years now, 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of got there about a year after the inception of the whole thing. And first couple years, it was pretty kind of startup mode. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Everyone got to wear a lot of hats, as everyone always says, and have a lot of fun. But you got to be comfortable kind of wearing all those different hats. And yeah, that's kind of what I do there.
You grew up in optics.
I did, yeah. My dad worked in optics. He when we moved back from Brazil, he was working at a company that was called Blunt International. They're still around, but they've gotten rid of their shooting sports stuff. But it was over in Lewiston, Idaho, and he was running. It's like those brands like Weaver, CCI, Spear.
Mm-hmm.
RCBS. So I kind of grew up with that. Then he took a 3-year hiatus, went to Wisconsin, was working for a lawnmower company.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got recruited and went back and ran Loophole for 12 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I kind of grew up around optics for most of my life. Even the Weaver optics and stuff prior to Loophole.
And Sig Sauer Optics is based in Wilsonville, Oregon.
Yep.
Not too far from Portland.
Yep. Yeah. We started in Tualatin, which is just down the road from Wilsonville, but recently moved into a bigger building there in Wilsonville because we've expanded so much. But yeah, we started in Oregon because just all of the talent we had there from previous years and previous stops at other companies, right there. So it was good. It's a good recipe for success, and that's kind of how Sig handles things. They don't go out and acquire companies. They go out and acquire talent and kind of build their own, which I think is a pretty cool recipe because you can have it the way you want it. You're not inheriting something that someone was looking to sell just 10 minutes earlier. So
you're a college football player.
I was a college football player, yeah.
Who'd you play for?
I played for University of Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Go Buffs.
What position?
I was an offensive lineman. Yeah, guard. So
pulling guard.
I was a pulling guard, yeah. Everyone pulls in college. Even centers are pulling in college, but yeah.
So what are some features that would be consistent with the mindset of an offensive guard? Like how does your personality match with your physical ability move you into that position?
It's kind of an interesting question. I don't know. I feel like linemen, you kind of you typically, they're not really looking for spotlights. That's not the type of person that's going to end up at an O-line position and enjoy it and excel at it,
Right.
They're also, they're kind of protectors. Every play you're out there protecting other players so that other players can do their job. And you got to kind of put the team first a little bit there. Offensive linemen are really intelligent. D linemen are pretty stupid. So, yeah, it's kind of an interesting bunch. You got to like to get down and dirty, that type of stuff too, kind of grunt work. But I think the thing that's I've noticed with O-lines that I've played with, it's like camaraderie, It's just having fun with the dudes next to you, So.
Yeah. So it's interesting to me, and in our conversations, it's very evident to you that I know very little about football.
Mm-hmm.
But where you are as an offensive guard, it really is a defensive position. Like you're defending everybody behind and around you.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Like you're protecting them. You're defending them against.
Yeah. In an offensive way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd agree with that.
In Marine Corps tactics, they say that there's no clear line between offense and defense.
Okay.
So you can be in a defensive position and attacking,
mm-hmm.
and you can be in an offensive position and be defending. So with that sort of trench warfare portion of football, it really goes back and forth. Like you have the defense who is definitely on the assault, mm-hmm. and you have portions of the offense that are on the assault, and you have portions of the offense that are in defense.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah, and it definitely, play to play, it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, even run plays versus pass plays and whatnot, you're kind of have a different mindset every time.
Wasn't there a situation with Sig Optics where you guys had to like knock down a wall to get some equipment into the building?
I'm trying to think. No, we didn't knock down a wall. We had to take a big window out.
Gotcha.
And, so it's a glass wall, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had to bring some equipment. We have our clean room, which is it's a big clean room on our second floor, kind of in the middle. And then also we got a bunch of optical metrology equipment and stuff up there. So I think all of that stuff came in through a window, which is now where all of our double E's sit. Kind of a little nerd pit.
Double E's.
Electrical engineers.
electrical engineers. Yeah, those guys are nerds.
Really nerd, and I mean that in like the nicest way.
Yeah, big brains.
Yeah, real mathers.
Yeah,
yeah. So good people. Just it's like that's why I have a job. I talk to them so that the customers don't have to type thing. Get a red stapler. Yeah.
So what optics are made there in Wilsonville?
Oh, we make all types of stuff. We were actually just doing a presentation on this, and I think we're at like 47% of our stuff is made there right now, and we're slowly transitioning to more and more. So we make a lot of red dots there, a ton of red dots. We're assembling all of the Tango 6T rifle scopes there. So all those contracts that we've won, they're all being done in that clean room. Lots of lights, lots of lasers are being done there. Our Juliets. We do some red dots, like closed red dots, Romeo 4T, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. What contract are you talking about with the Tango 6T?
We have two contracts. We have a contract with SOCOM, which is a second focal plane Tango 6T. And then we recently won a direct view contract, direct view optic. So Devo is what we all call it, or everyone's calling it. That's a contract with the Army's running the contract, but the scopes are going to the Air Force. So that's a first focal plane Tango 6T. And then we also, it's not technically a contract, but they selected the Tango 6T for the SDMR program. So they're putting those on all those HK 7.62 rifles.
So Special Operations is using the Tango 1-6?
Yep.
That's a great scope.
It's a really, really nice scope.
Yeah. This is the first time I've ever got to look at one.
Yeah.
Patrick had one on his rifle, and that's a very practical scope. You can get a lot of miles out of a Tango 1-6.
Yeah. Yeah. The 1-6 is a really, 15 years ago, 6X zoom was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And now you're seeing, 10, 12X zoom scopes out there on the market. Competitors have 10X zooms. And it's kind of just a give and take.
Let's clarify what 10X zoom is, because I think a lot of people are going to hear that and they're going to think that a scope only goes to 10 power.
Yeah. Yeah. So inside of a scope, you have an erector system. Mm-hmm. And you're moving lenses in there, and that changes the magnification of the scope.
Okay.
So the erector is also used for windage and elevation adjustments. But so you're moving those lenses, and it's adding or subtracting, not subtracting, but it's changing the magnification of the optical system.
So if you have a 6X zoom, that means you can go from 1-6 or 2-12 or 3-18.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We call it like a 6-to-1 system is what we call it.
Yeah.
And so you'll use that same erector in a 1-6 and a 3-18, like you're saying, and you're just changing the objective at that point.
Yeah.
And the objective's obviously that front lens.
Gotcha.
So you'll start at whatever magnification you want. You could do a 2.5 to 18 if you want, or 2.5 to 15, I think it would be. So
well, let's go ahead and break down some of the features of a rifle scope and kind of go from one end of it to the other and talk about some of that stuff, because it does get confusing. There's a lot of features, and some of it can feel sort of like marketing. Other portions of it, really appeal to a specific type of user, but a lot of people just don't understand. So let's kind of break it down.
Which direction you want to go? Front to back to front?
I think front to back.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So,
move.
Yeah, you got the objective lens up there, and that's kind of setting your, kind of like what we were talking about. You're adjusting your focal length with that.
In this world, the front, is that the barrel end, or is that the butt
it's
stock?
away from the user.
Okay.
Yeah. The other side's called the ocular, because of the ocular like eyes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So we're on the barrel end of the scope. We've got the objective lens.
Yep. Yeah. So you got the objective lens that's setting your focal length, which is going to essentially set where your base of your magnification is.
Okay.
So the other thing you're doing is you're sizing that thing diameter wise, and that's going to affect your exit pupil.
Okay.
And a lot of people, it's kind of semantics, but having a bigger objective does not give you more light transmission. It gives you a bigger exit pupil, which allows more light in total, kind of like area under the curve type thing. to pass through the system.
And exit pupil gets measured in millimeters.
Yep.
And the human eye can see somewhere between 4 and 8 millimeters.
The human eye can dilate to roughly 4 and 8 millimeters. Yeah. Okay. So your pupil in your eye is, I mean, when it gets real dark out, you get big wide pupils.
So if you have more than 8 millimeters of exit pupil, it's wasted on your eye, right?
It's wasted from a light standpoint. It's not wasted. We were kind of talking about this the other day. It's not wasted in the sense of ease of use.
Okay.
So that's your column of light back there where everything's focused. And if you have a big exit pupil, it's going to be really easy to get behind that scope.
Okay.
So if you have 11x or 11 millimeter exit pupil, you got a lot of head movement area that you can get back there.
Right. So you have eye relief, which is the distance that your eye is from the scope in order to be able to see a full and clear image through it. And then you have the eye box, which is sort of the size of that cone that your eye can be inside that cone of clear light coming out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Eye box is kind of a marketing term. Or if Brad Brumfield listens to this, he wouldn't even want me talking about it because it's not really an optical term.
Okay.
But
what would be what term should I be using?
It's a mix between exit pupil and eye relief.
Okay.
Because essentially you have light traces passing each other there, and they become focused at that eye relief distance. And the diameter of that cone of light is your exit pupil diameter. So there's not really a front and back change for eye box.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So objective lens can be big, can be small, changes the exit pupil, changes the focal length.
Yep. So it's like, why wouldn't we just use massive objective lenses?
Sure.
You know? And it's just weight.
Yeah.
You know, it's weight, ease of use. If you have a real big objective lens, it's going to make mounting the scope lower to the rifle a little bit more difficult as well. Loophole did a product a long time ago. I don't think Surround anymore, but where they cut out the bottom of that so you could still mount it down low, but you're still getting the benefits of that larger diameter lens. So.
Why do you want the scope to be close to the rifle?
It's just, for a lot of people, it's cheek weld. So you want to be able to have a consistent cheek weld. I would say most people aren't good at setting parallax. So that's not really a huge issue as long as if you have a consistent cheek weld, you're not going to see the effects of parallax because that's only when you're moving and you're changing your head position. And just the way most rifles were built, especially, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, before we had like chassis rifles and adjustable cheek pieces like our Cross has and everything, you just had those real straight stocks in the back. So you wanted to get down and be able to have that consistent cheek weld.
So what else do we have in the scope? Do we go straight into the tube?
We can talk about main tubes. I mean, that's obviously part of it. I mean, main tubes are kind of misunderstood. Not everyone. A lot of people believe that a bigger main tube diameter is going to give you more light transmission, and it's not. It's primarily just travel inside of that scope because you have that erector we talked about earlier, and you got to move that up and down, left and right to get your travel. And the more room in there that you have to move it, the more travel you're going to get.
So when you're saying travel, you're talking about like adjusting a turret. Say I'm going to take a longer range shot and I want to, adjust 15 mils or 25 mils inside this turret. If I have a 1-inch scope tube, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. 30 millimeter scope tube, I can get a little bit more. 34 millimeter main tube, I can get quite a bit more.
Yeah, the only way you could do that is if you had a really tiny erector in there, which you start giving away optical performance that way. So,
gotcha.
Which is field of view, stuff like that.
Okay, so then what happens?
Well, so we didn't really talk about side focuses, because that would be the next lens element at least in there. But side focus, we typically are going to do side focuses on scopes that are more than 12x. Once you get below that, a lot of people have asked, why don't you do like a 1-10 or 1-6, 1-8 with a side focus on there? And when you do that, you're moving that that focusing lens so small
Mm-hmm.
that you're not going to see the benefits of it.
Yeah.
So you just need to collimate that system at a usable yardage and not worry about side focus on those 1 powers. Yeah. So moving back from a side focus, you got that, and then obviously adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do capped, you can do exposed, you can do capped windage, exposed elevation. It's kind of the new in vogue thing because people are typically holding for wind, which that works real well if you're in a first focal plane scope. So you got that reticle in the first focal plane, and it's the subtension stay consistent throughout your zoom range. But it's a little bit more difficult on a second focal plane scope holding for wind. You got to be on high power.
What's a subtension?
Subtension is essentially how much of your image that your reticle is covering. So you might say, I got 1 MOA ticks on my reticle. What that means is when you look at it at an image, or at your target, it's covering up 1 inch in between those ticks. So it's how people used to mill stuff before rangefinders were pretty much everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And or if your rangefinder goes down,
or
something like that. So
subtensions, when we're looking at a reticle, and if it's the type of reticle that has hash marks going vertically and horizontally inside the reticle, if you have a first focal plane reticle, then those subtensions will remain the same distance apart throughout all ranges of magnification, but the lines will get thicker as you zoom in and thinner as you zoom out, correct?
So the best way I've found to describe this is that reticle is in the front of the erector. That's why they call it first focal plane. And essentially all of the zoom is happening behind that. So you're zooming in on your reticle and the image at the same time.
Yep.
So they stay consistent, which is really great if you're using those ticks for holdover or milling things.
Yeah. And when we're talking about milling, what we mean is if you know the size of an object, then we have this reticle inside of our scope that either has minutes of angle or has mil radian, and we can look at a chart and be like, okay, we know that that object is 1 meter.
Yep.
And okay, it looks like it is 1 mil inside this scope. I now know that that object is 1,000 meters away.
Correct, yeah.
Or
it gives you a good rough estimate for range.
Yeah. Or if I know the distance, then I can also use this system to tell the size of something. And that's useful for hunters if they're going to try and figure out, okay, is that buck 36 inches wide? Okay, well, he's 500 yards away, covers up 1 mil. He's 36 inches wide.
Yeah.
Dang. We need to get a little bit closer and shoot that thing.
Those are better hunters than me. First legal thing I see.
Yeah. Well, I've used mill reticles a lot to score animals. And I used mill reticles in the Marine Corps in the tank to determine the distance and size of objects, as long as I knew one or the other. And it's something that I practiced a lot. And if you do practice it and get good at it, you can absolutely score an elk with a reticle. So a few years ago, I got to watch a bull for, 45 minutes or something before he got up and offered a shot. And I had a little mil-dot master, and I didn't have anything better to do, so I tried to score him, and I scored him a 322. And he got up, and I shot him, and we scored him, and he scored 322. That was lucky.
Yeah.
But I was going to get close. It is an ability that you have with that. And I love hunting with those types of reticles. A lot of people kind of get turned off and they think that it's too busy and it's too much for them to look at. To that, I would say that's fine if that's not your style, but it's definitely a tool that's available. And with a little bit of training, like with any tool, you can get some good use out of it.
Yeah, you definitely got to get comfortable with the reticle and, in fact, your whole system,
So turrets move, they move a lens up and down? Do they move the erector?
They move that whole erector, yeah.
Okay.
So that whole erector's in there moving.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What comes after turrets?
I mean, the erector. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's what we were talking about earlier. That's where you're getting all your zoom magnification and everything in there. Reticles are on the erector, either the front or the second focal plane on the back.
Is one more expensive to build than another?
Yeah, the front focal plane reticles are more expensive to build for sure.
Why is that?
You're working with stuff that's much finer. So like that reticle, if you have a 6x erector, it's going to be 6 times smaller on the front focal plane than it is on the rear focal plane.
Okay.
So you got a lot smaller feature sizes and stuff like that.
Have to be a little bit more precise.
Yeah. They're a little bit more difficult collimating, centering, stuff like that.
So is that why we see first focal plane scopes costing more money?
Yeah, absolutely.
Part of it?
Yeah, 100%.
Is it a lot more to build?
Yeah. I mean, it's a significant amount more. Yeah. Most of that goes into the reticle.
Yeah.
So
interesting. What's the reticle actually made of?
It depends. So you can do glass reticles. So you have a sheet of glass up there. You etch it. You can fill it. You can fill it with special materials that reflect light. That's how you're getting illuminated reticles. So you're shining light up the side of it. And then on the second focal plane, you can still do the same thing. It's just like I was saying earlier, it's going to be bigger. Or you can do metal reticles back there. They used to make them way back in the day. They used to make them out of spider web.
Really?
Yeah, I think Leupold had black widow spiders until like the mid-90s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were they ever made out of hairs, crosshairs?
I'm sure someone did.
Yeah.
Not that I'm ever. I can't give you any examples, but that
That's definitely
would make sense.
Something that I wondered about if the first crosshairs were actually like horsehair or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a silhouette that you're looking past.
Yeah,
and you're using it as a reference point for aiming a gun. So it's in the simplest terms, But that's the nice thing about second focal plane reticles is, I mean, we run fiber optic up them and illuminate the center dot with that, and you can get a really bright center dot, which it's really important on like those 1 to 6s that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So it's almost like using a red dot. You throw it down on 1, it's like using a red dot essentially. Other than the fact you still have your exit pupil and eye relief to deal with, which aren't really issues on red dots.
Right.
So,
and a black reticle in low light against a black object or a dark object can be very difficult, if not impossible, to see. So if you have some type of illumination, you can still be within legal shooting light. And say you're black bear hunting, or you're hunting a bull elk that's all muddy, or who knows what. A lot more ethical for you to be able to see a little bit of light to know exactly where your crosshairs are.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
100%.
And we run into this stuff all the time where people feel like a technology offers an unfair advantage. And, in my mind, I want to exploit every technical and tactical advantage in order to increase my lethality, my morality, and effectiveness in making sure that I can provide the absolute cleanest and quickest death possible to the animal that I'm hunting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's funny. Like with some of our systems, like our BDX systems, we've run into state legality issues and just various, and it's ever changing. Every year, late summer, we're always kind of on edge. Like, oh God, what state's going to try to ban us or do what? And it's interesting because from our viewpoint, we feel like we've made it more ethical for them. We have we're doing everything in the scope and with the rangefinder that customers and users are still going to go out and do legally, but we're just taking away some of the error, some of the possibility for error. If you're dialing your scope, you can easily have an extra rotation of dial or an extra rotation of elevation dial in there,
Yeah.
And not know it. So I feel like with BDX, we've taken some of that potential points for error out, or like you range something and the rangefinder tells you need 5.3 mils to shoot that target, and you dial 3.5 or whatever. There's all types of errors that you can do, and we're just kind of taking some of those links out.
And you can also utilize this technology to give yourself a governor, like kinetic.
Yeah.
Right? So you can say, okay, I need 1,800 foot-pounds of energy in order to, absolutely and effectively kill this target.
Yeah.
Or you can can you use energy or velocity?
Yeah.
How does that work?
You set that all in the app, and you essentially will pick which one you want to use. Mm-hmm. And that's probably another podcast. You could talk to some projectile maker on which one matters more. But we wanted to give people both options with it. So you can set it to velocity or you can set it to kinetic energy, essentially.
So then, pick your number. If I go and I range that deer and it is beyond the range that, I've considered to be, absolutely lethal and effective for this bullet, what's the scope going to do? What's the rangefinder going to do? So,
first, what happens, the reason we're able to do this is because our rangefinders are running those ballistics and they have terminal ballistic information. Mm-hmm. So they all run off applied ballistics, and that's one of the outputs it can spit out. And so essentially it ranges that target and says, or in this case you were saying a deer, and it's saying at this distance it's going to have this much energy left. And what it does is it will tell that to the rifle scope, and the rifle scope will, if it's below the threshold and below the threshold that the user sets, it slowly blinks the dot for you. So it doesn't take away your dot, but it's just giving you an indicator that you should probably move in a little bit closer.
Yeah. So that's really cool that you can use that technology to do incredibly advanced rocket science math in the field to make sure that you are not going to accidentally take a shot that's beyond the capabilities of your munition.
Yeah. And like I was saying earlier, it's people could print out dope charts for decades, mm-hmm. and they could have already had that information. But I don't know many guys who are out there rolling a dope chart that has terminal ballistic information on it,
Yeah.
So
I will do a podcast in the future, and we'll talk about what that means on the animal end of a shot.
Yeah.
That velocity and that foot-pounds of energy and the types of projectiles and stuff like that. Promise, folks, I'll get that one to you.
I'm just creating work for you.
So we're moving back to the other end of the scope still. We've got a magnification dial or magnification ring. What do we call that?
Yeah, I call it power select ring. PSR. Ring. Yeah.
That sounds cool. When you say
people
PSR.
call it. Yeah. It sounds like a government contract.
Acronyms make anybody cooler.
Yeah, I mean, people call it zoom rings. Yeah, whatever people want to call it. It doesn't really matter. It still does the same thing. Essentially, there's a little pin that goes down from that into your erector, and when you rotate that, it's going to rotate those lenses in a cam, and that's what you get the lens movement. That's going to change your magnification.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's neat.
Yeah.
I always thought that it was like sliding it back and forth in there somehow.
Well, that is what it's doing, but it's turning that rotational movement into forward and back via a cam.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. So there's usually two lenses inside the erector that are moving.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
neat.
And then back behind that you got your eyepiece, a diopter adjustment back there, which people get really confused about a lot. Every time I look at a scope and it's slammed all the way down, it's either someone who's should have it that way and is pretty old, or someone who doesn't really know how that thing works.
Right. So that diopter adjustment, when you get your new scope out of the box, mm-hmm. when I get my new scope out of the box, before I throw it on rings, anything, I will point it at a blank wall and then adjust that diopter until I have a really crisp
reticle
view of the reticle.
Yep.
And then I never touch it again.
That's exactly how you're supposed to do it. I don't know if that's how everyone does it.
Another little pro tip for you: if you're trying to move that PSR, that power selector ring, mm-hmm. and it doesn't want to move, chances are you have tightened your rings down too much and you're crushing your main tooth. And I've definitely seen that.
There's potential for that. I see that more on side focuses.
Yeah,
because you have a similar thing happening on a side focus,
right?
And so if you're trying to adjust your side focus, and it's like you might even get a little bit of movement and then it stops.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I don't know where they're getting it from, but they will slam their front ring all the way up against their turret bell housing, and you can definitely crunch down on it if you put too much torque. We give torque specs on stuff, but I don't think most people are busting the torque wrenches out.
Not everybody has a torque wrench. Yeah. So if they're just using the Allen key that that probably came with their rings or whatever, what's their sort of rule of thumb for tightening if that's all they have?
Yeah, so I mean it's 25 inch-pounds, so I usually get them snug and then a quarter turn.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good rule of thumb for that.
Doesn't take as much as what people think.
No, but you do want to do them even. It's kind of that star pattern. Kind of like lug nuts.
Yep.
So
helpful. That's a lot of information. That's a lot of information that people probably don't know about scopes.
Yeah.
That we just went through.
Hopefully, yeah. That's good.
All right. If you've got more questions about the actual guts of a scope, go ahead and send them on in, and I'll get them answered for you. What is sort of the state of the union of Sig Sauer Optics today?
We're growing real fast. I think we're at 130 people right now. We got 20 open positions. Most of them are in assembly, manufacturing, stuff like that.
20 open positions?
Yeah.
So who do you need? Maybe somebody's listening and wants a job.
Yeah, assembly, manufacturing. If you're detail-oriented and you care about the work you do, apply to Sig Sauer Optics.
Nice.
In Wilsonville.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that'd be a cool job for somebody.
Yeah. I mean, we are, I would say right now the market's crazy with kind of the things we've talked about, the trifecta of this year and pandemics and an election year, and then we had civil unrest and all that jazz. It's just kind of the perfect storm for the firearms industry in general, and optics definitely is along for that ride. So I think if you talk to all of our competitors, they're doing real well too. But I would say we've had a very, very good year. This Devo wins another icing on the cake for us for this year. So
yeah, that's a big deal. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you.
It just warms my heart to know that our operators are getting really high quality equipment.
Yeah.
They freaking deserve it. They need it.
Yep.
We need to continue to be the scariest thing in the world for people who oppose what America stands for. And if you can build and provide an optic that helps these scary men do their jobs, then that's
I hope awesome. We can do our part. I think we're doing a good job. They seem to like our stuff, so
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, within the hunting side of the house, the first thing that I saw from Sig were rangefinders. And I think that really sort of surprised a lot of people. And then they picked them up and they saw how fast these things were ranging and how far and accurately they're ranging. And that was something that they'd never really experienced before. And then they started to look into a little bit more.
Yeah.
But there's some, you make binoculars, spotting scopes, red dots.
Pretty much every
rifle scopes,
every optical category.
Yeah,
we have it. Yeah.
What are some of the new products that are coming out? Like, let's talk about some of the stuff that's getting released like right now.
Yeah. So we just went live with the Zulu 6 image stabilized binocular, which is a really, really cool product. We've had the image stabilized monocular for a while, and I don't know about you, but I don't like looking just one eye on things. Even rangefinders, I always prefer to have. I mean, I got two eyes. I'd like to use them, and it's just such a nice experience using those Zulu 6s. It's pretty crazy. So we got 10 by 30s and 16 by 42s, and I mean those high mag binos aren't new, but being able to hand hold them the way you can because of the image stabilization is just an incredible feature.
So I've been using the 10 powers since April, and that means that I've probably been on 80 hunts or so in that amount of time, and then a few competitions, and then just like daily use and scouting and stuff. Haven't broken them, and they're a prototype, so I typically
there's a lot of 3D printed stuff on those.
I typically break prototypes.
Haven't
broken these things, and they're absolutely the biggest game changer for me for anything this year. And Instagram followers have been listening to me talk about these for quite a while now. And basically, when you turn these things on, there's a couple gyroscopes in there that actually stabilize the image so that when you're looking at it, it is more stable than what you're used to seeing on a tripod. And people have a hard time hearing that from me. But the reality is, with a tripod, there's typically some wind going on. So there's going to be some vibrations and stuff like that. And then when you're panning and moving the tripod or moving the optic on the tripod, that pan isn't ever going to be super smooth. You're not really going to be able to see while you're transitioning from one place to the next. Mm-hmm. And these binoculars will make a smooth transition. So you'll actually see them seem like they're lagging behind a little bit, but it's just making it so that it's smooth. And some of the big deals for me is that I'm way more efficient when I glass a hillside. I can get through it much faster with these binos than I can with a spotter, mm-hmm. or with anything on a tripod. I can use them one-handed, so I don't have to set my bow or my rifle on the ground. I can just pick them up, and it's sure enough rock solid, steady, and I can see. And then another thing is that the human eye is built to identify movement. Mm-hmm. And if you are shaking a little bit when you're holding just optical binoculars, you can't necessarily see a small movement that's within your field of view.
Yeah, everything's moving.
Right, everything's moving.
Yeah.
So if when I have these stabilized binoculars, I mean it's just steady, and if a deer flicks its ear, I can pick that up.
Yeah.
And every mule deer hunter, knows how important that movement is.
Yeah.
To finding that animal.
Yeah, the first time I hand them to someone, I like to tell them, look at something that you just barely cannot make out. And if you're in a city, it's pretty easy. You can look at like a air conditioning unit across the road at a building or something and read text, like read the 1-800 number or something on there. And you just barely can't read it. And then you flip that switch and it's like all those movies where the guy goes into the zone,
right? And
everything's like super focused. And it's a really cool experience to see their faces every time. It's like 100% of the time it works every time.
And these things are little. Like the 10 powers weigh 18.1 ounces, I think is what I weighed them at.
Yeah. And the 16s, I think, are just 21 or so.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the 15, 16 power binoculars that we see out there now are well over 30 ounces.
Yeah.
So you're saving a significant amount of weight, and then the weight that you're saving by not having to bring a tripod with you is huge. If you're in a situation where you don't need a tripod, I typically bring one to shoot off of anyhow. But
I always, up until these things, I've always hunted with tripod and binos off the tripod, mm-hmm. and it's just a little bit of a hassle sometimes setting up the spot. You're not stopping on the trail side, and like what we were talking about earlier, I'm not a tree stand hunter, but I can't imagine setting a tripod up in a tree stand.
Yeah.
So
glassing from a tree stand is huge, especially if you're in a situation like this where there are places that you can see a couple hundred yards. And like being able to detect an animal that's moving around so that you can get good and ready, that's huge. That makes all the difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking to John about it because he was using them in Oregon on his hunt this year, and he was talking about, you crest that hill that you just saw an animal and you're going down and up to get it, and you're cresting that hill and you're out of breath, you're huffing and puffing. It takes all that out of it,
Yeah.
So, and you're not going to take that out even on a tripod.
Right. And I'll give you an example of efficiency. I sat down on a hillside to glass for sheds with a buddy of mine this year, and I handed him my Zulu 6 binos. And I sat down and started to take out my tripod and put on a spotter. Mm-hmm. And he found 3 elk sheds over a mile away on the opposing hillside before I had my spotting scope set up and was glassing through it. And it's like, okay, well, obviously this hillside's just absolutely covered in sheds. And we sat there for another half an hour, and that was it. He found what there was to find before I had my spotter ready to go.
Yep.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Did you switch with him after that?
Yeah, I took my stuff back. I said, no. And it was super steep, and I was kind of mad that we found him over there, but so we had to spend the rest of the day going to get the stupid things. Echo 3.
Yeah. Echo 3 is a really cool product. You know, we had, I think it was 3 years ago, we had our Echo 1 thermal reflex sight. So it starts at 1 power, which is kind of different from a lot of thermal sights. Nice thing is, I mean, you got that big screen there. You don't have to get down on the gun and put your eye up to like some weird sock looking thing like a lot of thermal sights have. Some boot, you know. And the Echo 3 is kind of the evolution to everything that we learned from the Echo 1. I'd say we have a higher resolution display on it, so you're not taking a DVD player and watching a video in black and white on it anymore.
Right.
It's got a nice high resolution display on there. It's a 1:6 now. You get more magnification on it. We put a throw lever on it because the objective you focus, the objective based off the distance that you're looking at. And there's a little throw lever on there, which is pretty nice.
Makes it super quick.
Yeah, you can stream video. You can stream, transmit images and everything off of the device. I think Brad was running that project. I think he says it's got 13 gigs of storage on it. So,
wow.
Yeah. It's BDX enabled.
Amazing.
Yeah.
When people think thermals, and this is a funny thing to me, coming from a military background, tank background, where I lived looking at a thermal. Like that was my entire life, was looking at a thermal. They just think of it as a nighttime thing.
Yeah.
And that is not at all the case. Thermals are an incredibly powerful tool. It sees a different portion of the light spectrum.
Yeah.
And they're very, very powerful in daylight.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're just looking for differences in heat signature. So
yeah.
It's pretty simple. It works during the daytime too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Amazing. So, yeah, I don't know. It's pretty cool. When we were looking, we had a prototype out at the show. So a lot of people that came through the booths in the shows last year got to look through one and play with it a little bit. They're really neat. I think about 25 coyotes pays for an Echo 3.
Yeah.
So if you're a coyote hunter, keep in mind that this is an item that can enable you to make a little bit of money if you kill 26 coyotes.
Yeah.
But
then you're in the green.
Yeah. It's practically an investment.
Yeah.
But it is a really neat optic, and it's just little.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. And it, like I was saying, it's just the comfort of using it, especially when you're when you are using it in those lower light situations. You're not slammed down there on it. You have a little bit more awareness, around you and everything. So it's a pretty cool product.
And this has a QD mount built into it?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Our old one had a 1/2-inch hex on it, which is great, but it's not very convenient for the users.
So you can pop this thing off of your Picatinny rail and use it just a glass width.
Yeah.
And then throw it right back on your gun and roll.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got good return to zero on there with that QD. So, yeah that shouldn't be an issue at all. And
I think that a lot of coyote hunters and hog hunters and stuff like that, they have that issue where they don't want to point their gun at everything that they're looking at night. That's cumbersome.
Kind of dangerous too.
It's dangerous, right? So if you can just pop this thing off and you've got this little handheld unit that you can use to glass with, and it's like, okay, there's something I'm interested in having a different type of relationship with.
Yeah.
Slap it right back on the gun, throw one lever, and now you're lethal.
Yep.
Pretty freaking cool. Okay, next thing I want to ask you about is the Romeo line. So this is the red dot line of optics.
Yeah.
And there's a grip of them. Like we start at Romeo 0 and then we go up from there. What am I looking at? Like where do we start? Like what does a Romeo 0 do? What does a Romeo 4 do?
Yeah. So it's kind of a funny deal. I mean, all of our naming structure is essentially the phonetic alphabet. Mm-hmm. R, Romeo. It's real simple. We just did red dots that way, and I mean, we can go straight up the list of them. Essentially, we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Used to have a 6. We have 7s.
Yeah.
Have an 8.
Let's
logic
do it.
Logic would tell you we're going to have a 9. So.
Just tell me what each of them is good at.
Yeah. So the Romeo Zero, that's one of the products we're making in house, doing tens of thousands a month. Just tons of these things. It is a very small miniature reflex sight that's going to go onto a like our carry pistol, like our 365.
Yep.
We even ship guns with them already installed on them, so it's perfect for that. It's for that slim carry gun.
Install it and sight it in, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, and so that's what that product is. The Romeo 1. So we have Romeo 1 Pros now, and we started with the Romeo 1, which had kind of a proprietary footprint on it. Romeo 1 Pro went to more of an industry standard footprint. It's that DP Pro from Loophole. It's kind of their same footprint. Reason we did that is because on our M17 gun, it was cut for that, so we decided we need to have a red dot that works with it. Here we are with the Romeo 1 Pro.
Yep.
Romeo 2 is a product that will be out. It's not fully on the street. You'll be able to find stuff in literature, printed and whatnot, but what that is kind of our no excuses red dot. It's super, super robust and durable. We've dropped it from 15 feet and had no problems with it. I don't think we're telling people to drop it from 15 feet, but we've tested it at those. And
tougher nails.
Yeah, and that's what we call a modular red dot. So you can convert it from a reflex sight to a closed red dot as well with a shroud, and there's an acrylic lens that you put on the back.
Which is huge for a guy that wants to have a red dot while he's out in the field hunting, keep snow, dirt.
Yeah, we had that discussion when we were elk hunting. You were talking about how you were apprehensive to go to a red dot on your 220.
Yeah,
because you didn't want to get dirt or snow or rain or anything in that emitter, which can happen. If you block that light, you're not going to have an aiming point. So,
right.
But yeah, so this kind of solves that problem. It is it's going to be 10 mil safe essentially. Nice. So 10 mil guns just destroy red dots.
But not the Romeo 2.
Not the Romeo 2. That's going to be your Huckleberry.
That sounds like my style.
Yeah.
Like this is the Marine Corps version. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about making things marine proof the other day.
It's willing to get dirty. It's hard to break.
Yeah.
People are going to want to steal it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that's something that'll be kind of early next year.
Okay.
It's not on our website or anything like that, but if you type in Sig Romeo 2, you'll find photos and pictures and stuff.
Insider information.
I don't even feel like it's insider because it's on the street.
Okay.
It's kind of out there.
Yeah.
But
I look forward to trying one.
Just can't buy it yet. The so next Romeo 3, that's another open reflex sight. Really, really beautiful glass on this thing.
Yeah.
It's a competition. It started with our standard Romeo 3, and then 2 years ago we launched the Romeo 3 Max and the Romeo 3 XL, which was kind of a funny deal. We developed both, and Max liked the round one, and we still like the more square one, so we decided, hell, let's launch them both.
Yeah.
So they've done really well for them. We can't keep them in stock, and I mean, Max could probably win with a straw on his gun. He's that good.
Right.
But he really likes this sight, and it's done really well.
Yeah.
So
Romeo 3 is what I compete with too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a beautiful sight. So it's got an A-sphere in there, which it's just a better optical system that way.
Yeah.
So Romeo 4, that is our that's a closed red dot. So that's more something you're gonna see on an AR. We've done very well. Again, military contracts and whatnot with that one as well. We got 3 flavors of it, an S, an H, and a T. The H was kind of more of a hunting. You can put it on a shotgun. It's a little bit less durable. It's made out of 6061 instead of 7075.
Different types of aluminum.
Yeah, different materials.
Okay.
It's got a little bit different. I think that one's IPX7 and the T is IPX8.
I don't know what that means.
That's waterproof rating.
Oh.
Yeah. So most guys hunting don't need to be diving with their shotguns.
Yeah.
They do.
Sure.
But they don't. And the S is just a solar variant of the H.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. I think that's what I have, and I have a magnifier behind it.
Yeah. And you got the, do you know which reticle you have in yours? Because we call them quad reticles, but we have a circleplex and a circle dot variant. And then we call them quad reticles because there's 4 different reticle settings and variations you can set it in.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's a tremendous little optic.
Yeah.
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 It's fast. Like that's a great choice for ARs. And then if you put a magnifier on it, man, you can really shoot a long ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, we have, right now we have 4 different magnifiers. We have a Juliet 3, Juliet 4, Juliet 6. So what's changing there is just magnification for all of them. And then we have our Juliet Micro, which is like a really small, less expensive, but it's a pretty cool little magnifier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that for, let's say that you're hunting with an AR of any variety, and you're going to be 300 yards and in with a 4-power magnifier and a red dot. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah.
You can do anything with it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and they got QD mounts if you don't want it on there, rip it off.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about return to zero on that. You're just magnifying your point aim. So there's no shift there.
Yeah.
When people think that when they're zeroing magnifiers, they're changing their point aim, point impact. You're not. You're just shifting where that reticle is inside your field of view of the magnifier.
Yeah.
So that's Romeo 4. After that, we got Romeo 5, which is an imported red dot, and it's just awesome value. We do tonnage of that type of product.
Yeah.
We do really well with that one. Kind of in that same breath, we have our Romeo MSR, which is another, I mean, it's made to go on AR style rifles. So it's kind of just a great value red dot.
Yeah.
So don't have the Romeo 6 anymore. And then we have the Romeo 7. So it's just kind of a different flavor for every.
What's the 7 do?
The 7 is it's a larger. It's a little bit larger red dot. Okay. So it looks like those old aim points.
Gotcha.
That you had in the Marines probably.
I didn't. That's Army stuff.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Well, you've seen the Army guys.
I have.
Probably jealous of them. So.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want to shoot with less accuracy than the Marines?
I don't have a dog in this fight. We like them all.
Yeah, it's okay. I have Army friends that can shoot the pants off me. I just don't shoot with them, and then I get to win. Well, so that's cool. All right. Next subject: hunting versus tactical on rifle scopes.
Yeah,
I tend to hunt with tactical rifle scopes.
Yeah,
so I really like the Tango 6 line of scopes. They're heavy, which there's some durability that comes with that weight. Mm-hmm. Tremendous optical clarity. They're first focal plane. I have reticles that can allow me to use the reticle for all kinds of elevation and windage holds, and I have turrets that I can use for the same purpose if I have the time to allow that. And then it also allows me to compete and hunt with the same scope all year.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's my style. But there are features that are better for most hunters than the features that I'm using. So how do you sort of differentiate a hunting line of scope like the whiskey line from a tactical scope like the Tango line?
Yeah. So, I mean, any rifle scope, as you've just pointed out, can be used for either of them. You could take one of our whiskey scopes and use it in a tactical scenario, or you could use one of our Tango scopes in a hunting scenario. It's a scope's a scope type thing. Just kind of the different features and benefits that those different users are looking for. So our hunting scopes tend to be second focal plane. The reason is that most hunters are rolling around the woods on low power. Mm-hmm. They want to be on low power. You have a quick snapshot. You want to be able to pull that scope up and have a nice reticle there for you. On some of these tactical first focal plane scopes, the reticle, once you get into the lower magnifications, is definitely less usable. I mean, you can design reticles that are usable in every magnification, or you can fix that with illumination and stuff like that. But it's just a lot more. It's just second focal plane scopes is kind of what the hunting community is a lot more comfortable with, I would say.
Yeah.
So the weight is definitely a factor, I would say. If you're packing a rifle around in the backwoods of Idaho, you don't want to have as much weight as possible. But the give and take there is definitely durability. The lighter you go on the scope, there's no doubt in my mind you're giving up durability there.
Yeah.
So, another lever you can pull is kind of what we were talking about with objective lenses. So, when you get those big, high zoom, high magnification objectives, so if you have a real high mag scope, you're going to have a larger objective on there, which is going to drive that exit pupil conversation we had earlier as well. So, that's kind of the give and takes there. The turrets are a big driver for it as well. You can add a lot of weight with turrets, especially if you want them to be reliable and repeatable and durable.
So if you see features like exposed turrets, like first focal plane, illuminated reticle, side focus, those are all features that are going to drive up the costs and a lot of them the weight of the scope, right?
Yeah.
What's sort of the relationship between cost and quality? Is it linear?
There's definitely diminishing returns. Yeah. So, but you can definitely have a very high quality, low cost product. It's definitely possible.
Yeah.
I mean, products that have been around for a long time, people have just gotten better at manufacturing them, and you can maintain that quality and drive costs down.
And when you make more of them, you can make them for less money.
Yeah, exactly. But you definitely are gonna. The more you're paying, you're typically paying for a little bit better workmanship on items as well. So, the features and benefits thing that we were talking about too, because we were talking about future rifle scopes and what we want to do and which routes we want to go. There's just levers you can pull, like capped windage is a great example. Exposed turrets can be heavy and they can be expensive to make. There's just more parts in them. There's no getting around that. And maybe you have users that are not adjusting windage as much. And it's like you can cap that and you get a double benefit of it being lighter and it being less expensive. Same thing with illumination. Not everyone needs illumination. Not everyone wants it. And that's another cost driver you can pull right out of the scope pretty easily. So,
and here's my advice on windage. I like capped windage. So I'm going to zero my scope, and it's going to be perfect.
Not in the wind.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So I've got a very, very good zero. And I'm going to put the cap back on windage. And then when I need to hold for wind, I'm going to use my reticle and my rangefinder and the data that my rangefinder gives me and my Kestrel and all these other tools to tell me how far off to the side I need to hold for windage.
Yeah, sure.
And if I have the time, I'll dial for elevation. If I don't have the time, I'm going to use my reticle. The reason that I want to hold for wind instead of dialing for wind is that out west, the wind is typically not constant. It's not a laminar wind. And because of that, from 1 second to the next, I may be holding more or less wind. So the wind is going to be gusting and lulling. And if my moment to break the shot is in a lull and I've dialed for wind, now I'm going to have to hold off in the opposite direction. So I'm always going to hold for wind. And some guys will dial for their first winded shot and then hold for correction shots. That's much more of a tactical approach to it. For hunting, I'm really going to encourage people to look at this capped windage option.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
your gun's going to lay flatter in a rifle case. There's other functional benefits to this. It's easier to carry if you sling your gun. You're going to have less scope sticking into your back.
Yeah.
It's a sleeker thing.
It's one less thing to get hit on a rock and screw your whole system up.
And it makes this scope less expensive to build, less expensive for you to purchase. You can roll that money into another hunt or another tag or another opportunity or more ammo to practice with for the love of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, you talked about it, but guys who are dialing for wind, it's you got to remember to dial back to zero too. And a lot of guys don't.
Easy to forget.
Especially in the heat of the moment type situation,
Yeah.
You got animals running around left and right, and it's easy to forget some of those small details, and then it throws everything off.
Yeah. If you're ever at a rifle comp that has a mover stage, go to the stage after that, and typically people will dial windage for a mover stage because they're already having to hold off, 0.2 mils per mile an hour or whatever they're holding.
Yeah.
But go to the stage right after, and you will see a big bunch of people who forgot to change their windage and are now going to be missing off to the side.
Yeah.
And these are competition, very proficient, if not professional shooters.
Yeah.
Happens every time.
Yeah. You've been hanging off Peter if you're shooting all those movers.
Well, it's a fun thing to do. And I think one of the biggest benefits of shooting movers on a course like that is that you get to learn how utterly difficult it is.
Yeah.
And then if you think, oh, that deer's just walking across this hillside, he's going, 4 miles an hour, I know how to do that. If you've tried to shoot a moving target that's moving 4 miles an hour and you missed it 7 out of 10 times, now you realize, oh boy, I need him to stop before I break this shot because I'm bad at this.
Yep. Yeah,
it's
it's
really
not
hard.
moving exactly perpendicular to you.
Yeah,
it
moving,
changes the math real quick.
It's
so.
moving. Yeah, it's such a difficult shot.
Yeah.
And if you've got wind, whoo,
Yep.
you're going to have wind. There's always wind.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't ever get to shoot not wind.
Not often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to bring up?
No, I kind of want to thank Jordan for this week.
Absolutely.
Not sure if she's going to listen to this, but if she does, thank you, Jordan.
This has been so cool. We've got an awesome place to stay down here. This is one of the quietest places I've ever been.
Yeah. Yeah, Sean was talking about that the other day. He said even the water sounds quiet.
Yeah.
I think it's the sand.
This river's moving past us, but it's just silent. We're down in this creek bottom, and there's these sandhill highlands all the way around us. We're very, very remote. There's no cell service. It is just peaceful, and you can very much focus on relaxing and on deer hunting, and the deer hunting is incredible.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great host. Talking to Kirk about planes has been a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, shooting 3 big bucks.
Yeah.
Big bucks.
Yeah.
One a day.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Yeah. Incredible opportunity. People are paying a lot more money for a lot less of the hunt than this out here. So we will link to everything that we talked about here in the show. So if there's something that you're curious about here in the show, check out the show notes, and we'll link to that so that you can learn more about it. If you have a question for Mr. Joe Fruechtel, how do they get a hold of you?
Oh, man, they can try emailing me, but it's going to be in a pile of them right now, especially after being out here for a while.
What about just an optics question in general?
Honestly, our customer service guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Craig runs that team, and they do a great job. And eventually, if there's anything that they can't answer, it makes its way up to me.
Right.
And I'll work with those guys all the time. So,
yeah.
But I don't think there's much that those guys can't answer for most of the customers.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if you don't want that struggle, just send me your question, and if I can't answer it, then I will direct you to the person who can.
Yeah, we'll put James's cell phone number in the notes as well for everyone, so you can just call him.
Yep, for a good time or for a brief or in-depth explanation on why I prefer first focal plane, write me a message.
Yeah.
Okay, man. Thank you very much for your time.
No
Appreciate
problem.
it.
No problem. It was awesome.
Learned a lot. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the show. This episode was edited by Emily Brannigan, with original music written and performed by Justin Hay. Artwork for the Six Ranch podcast was created by John Chatterlin and digitized by Celia Christofferson. If you enjoyed the show, I encourage you to share it with a friend and subscribe. You can find photos and more content on Instagram at Six Ranch Podcast. I'll catch you next week.